everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be looking at a really special book that I just got in the mail, Cold Cube number 6. So this is an anthology put out by Cold Cube Press. Obviously, it's the 6th volume. The previous 5 volumes are all sold out, which is really a bummer to me after going through this. I would have definitely gone and I would have been tempted to blow some money. I probably shouldn't have, because this is a gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous production. The cover's on this really nice fibrous paper, and it's got a bit of an embossing punched into it with this like glossy ink down in it, and then you have the white with the spot gloss on it, or maybe it's just a shiny white. Yeah, it's just a shiny white that looks like it's been screen printed on top of it. It's raised up, so it's nice and tactile. On the side, you have an embossing that's got a glossy black ink in it, and then you've got a couple stickers put on the back that are designed, and this looks like the barcode for the book. So I think from a design standpoint, it's already just like an amazing piece. And then when you open it up and you start to see what's inside, it's just really beautiful. So this is a 9-color risograph book. You can see right here with the yellow, with the risograph, especially because the color just goes on, especially when it's pure color like that. There's no, well, I guess you would get that from a lithograph too. If it was a pure yellow, it just goes on flat. There's no dot. So the colors actually really just color on the paper. Now, throughout the rest of the book, of course, if there's mixtures of colors, you get back to a dot pattern, but the dot pattern's more natural looking. Also, with the risographs, you get these where you don't get the perfect clean impression, and so it has a analog kind of textural feel. You know, it feels like there's some variation per print probably. So it's just a bunch of artists. Some of them are just illustrators, some of them are doing more comics, but they're using the risograph technology, and they're obviously all really well trained in how to mix the colors, being able to predict how the colors mix and things like that. So I'm just gonna show, because I really think this is a book that everyone will enjoy. It's just such a beautiful object. If you enjoy books as like art objects, you've got to get this. So I'll just show a little bit from each artist. This is Aaron Charles Reed. These are more of illustrations, but you're taking advantage of the purity of the risograph, where you can pick the inks and just get these really intense colors. And some of this stuff too, like where you can turn line art into color. So it really starts to feel like hand-done printing, screen printing or something like that. Elise Rigolette, you can see also the cool design on all of these author name pages here. I really like. Something else I really like throughout the book is for each artist, they're really letting them pick a paper. Like this Elisa Rigolette picked obviously this yellow paper and is including that in her plans. Another trend that I'm enjoying, and I've seen this lately in some of what my students are doing with designs, and what I've seen a couple artists and designers doing, is these little bars that show their color palette. And I think on this is a way to show with the risograph which of because the risographs have these like ink cartridges, these big ink drums that you put in, and there's a variety of colors, and then people are designing around that. So I think the artists are showing you the colors that they use, and there seems to be some kind of like pride in that. It shows up in a lot of these, but it seems to be part of the aesthetic of the risograph is talking about which colors you use, because it's not the standard CMYK process. You can have other primary colors, and so you can get really strange, much more pure color interactions like this when you're layering these colors over top of each other, instead of the CMYK. And it probably doesn't come across on camera, but I mean in person the colors are just so strange and interesting and rich. Now on this I can see the dot pattern still. That's part of the risograph, is it has this dot pattern, but they're not the Bende dots. They're not very mechanical. They seem more natural. So kind of like when the diffusion dither technique that Sean's using when he's producing stuff, it feels more like that, more randomized. So it's really nice, and a page like this is lovely. And there's some printing inconsistencies in here too, and that just adds to like the couture handmade effect of it. You know, a different print of this might not have the same issue. That might just be one cartridge ink for 10 prints had something weird with it and they fixed it. I don't know, but it's cool like that. Jungshu Ri, that's this artist here. These are really gorgeous. I can't even imagine how many colors went into these. Well, actually, here again, we're probably getting a sense. No, these are, I mean, this is amazing here. And I don't know, this, it says this is a 9-color risograph print. I don't know if every artist used all 9 colors or if they just told them that those 9 colors are available. To me, it looks like this artist used all the colors available. Here's Pia Melissa LaRoche. So more of a comic artist, using this kind of Tommy. This reminds me of Tommy Masturi style a lot, actually, with this like clean line cartooning style, but then with these distorted forms and the flat coloring. But really, really love. This is where that like stochastic screening, diffusion, dither, randomized kind of. It looks more like airbrush instead of the mechanical dot tones. I guess that's the textural look of the color. But here it's like a flat color. You know, that's obviously a primary color that's been chosen for this story. But here you can see it looks more like an airbrush effect. And this has been used, the effects that the risograph process have been used to the artist's advantage here to get the like this blurry image resolving and then image like turning into your vision effect. And I just think that's really gorgeous there. This is also, I was thinking while I was looking at this, this is maybe some of these are some of the first comics I see that have like no line in them that really work. Like we've mentioned that a lot of times, that painted comics don't seem to work because of the lack of line, like these really realistically painted comics. But I don't know, that's it, because here you're starting to see images that are entirely color, and it's working from a narrative standpoint. Now maybe that's just because there's line everywhere else, I'm not sure, but I noticed that a couple times in this book, that as people are turning more towards the history of the fine arts to get their inspirations, or paying attention to what the technologies that they're using afford them, you're starting to get these more interesting things that work on a page but that aren't tied to the history of comics. This one's obviously tied to the history of comics, but there's some other stuff where people are figuring out how to do things with print that are tied to other histories. Like here, for example, this is perfect. You have a bunch of stuff that looks like a colored pencil drawing. It doesn't look like a pen and ink drawing. So this is by Emma Gaspar. And I feel like I'm seeing a lot more of this type of stuff where it's just like fine art styles and fine art skill sets coming to the table, not so concerned with like the history of cartooning and pen and ink art and all that kind of stuff. And I really like that. And then also, again, you've got these two colors here. You've got this like the pink and this light yellow, and well, then a blue and a black, or a really dark brown or something coming together as well. But just the yellow and the pink, like you couldn't really, you could get that effect, but it wouldn't be as pure and as intense if it wasn't a risograph. So that's just really beautiful. Lee Noble, this was one of my favorite ones. I took some pictures of this and sent it to Sean. What I really love about this is that Sean's talked a number of times about using offset lithography to really treat things like print, like woodblock prints or screen prints or something like that, where the interactions of the ink over top of each other are controlled, and that could all be set up and controlled in pre-press. And hopefully we'll get to experiment with that. But this risograph process is allowing people to do that too. And I don't know if it shows up on camera, but this piece here is awesome. It's on this gray paper, and then the ink sits on top of the paper, and obviously the black was run through first and then the yellow, and because the yellow is solid, like it prints over top of the black ink, and you get these again, I don't know if you can see them, but you get these like strange, these are called structural colors, where you can't really mix the color, because part of what you're seeing there is a lighting effect about how the light goes through the ink and then hits the other ink and then either gets soaked up or bounces out. It's the kind of stuff that you do when you're painting. You manipulate how the light goes in and out of the material. Most print media, the light just hits the ink and bounces right back off and comes to your eye and gives you a color. When you start playing with layers, though, you can make structural colors and you can get effects that you just could not get. Like there's this whole pattern here that kind of has like a shimmery look to it that you just couldn't get. So I really, really appreciate this story. This has it happening with the blue going over the back, and they're such subtle effects. And really, you can only get them in print. You couldn't get this digitally. You wouldn't see it on a screen. I've seen prints of Japanese woodblocks where they'll do stuff like that. I framed about, I think, 70 Yoshi Toshi 100 Aspects of the Moon prints, and one of them, the character had a kimono that was black, and then they had like the pattern on the kimono was also black, but the kimono itself was printed in a matte black, and the pattern was printed in a shiny black. If you scanned that, you probably wouldn't even see it, and if you had it on screen, it would just be two blacks on top of each other. So it's those kind of effects that I've really been thinking a lot lately about. The book as the art object. My gallery bound, wall bound brain for too long thought about the original piece of sellable, original one-off piece of art as the piece of art. And I'm switching now to be thinking more like a printmaker, where it doesn't really matter what the matrix is or what all the preparatory materials are, whether it's digital or an actual physical matrix or whatever. The object, the final print, the effects you're getting, that's the art object. And it's so cool to have a tactile original art object that also has all of those physical properties that you would get. But it's nice to have all of those physical layer interactions that you would normally only get in something that's handmade in a print, whether it be a hand-pulled print or whether we can figure out how to do these things mass-produced, like through the risographs or offset tricks. It's just really nice. I really like it. I like the idea that something that has all the handmade properties of a one-off object can be distributed to as many people as want it. I think that's amazing. And so that's where I'm at as an artist right now, is I want to lean into that. I want to lean into making beautiful objects in multiples that anyone can own, that it's not just a one-off thing that hangs on a wall somewhere. I think there's a lot of power in that. Here's Jesse Ng. Some beautiful, these look like they were done as watercolors and then probably color separated in the computer. I'm not sure. And then these are either could be color pencil drawings, or they could just be, and this is what I've been enjoying a lot lately, is just drawing in pencil and then either, just printing it in a different color, or on the computer can run a screen over it. And me and Sean have a tech video about dealing with screens in Photoshop. So that look out for that as well, because we're both like really enamored with the look of this stuff, and we're trying to figure out how to reproduce it without a risograph, so we have even more flexibility. Here's another one of these ones that had these color tests. So I think probably what's happening here is the artist knows what color inks they have available to them, and then they're doing like a little test of how the color combine. But it also looks like colored pencil to me a little bit. It's hard to tell with the risograph, because the effect on the print effect looks like colored pencil on a slightly toothy paper. That's another thing I like about it. It has that tactile feel of pencil on paper that recreates that look a little bit better. I think especially that diffusion to their randomness, it's not so mechanical as a Ben Day dot. So I don't know if this is just done in color pencil and this is a test of color pencil, or if there are pencils that are the colors of the risograph inks, so you can plan them out that way. I don't know. We still have to do more research into how people are preparing stuff for the risographs, because I don't know on something like that what that means. But I enjoy that convention that I'm seeing in the book. Here's Carissa Sakamoto. This is again on yellow paper, so I like that they're willing to do that. It's an expensive book because of this. It's a $50 book, but I think that's cool. And I know it's you limit your audience when you do that, but I really want to kind of play around with these paper and ink format changes and stuff. And then I don't know how it's all bound after the fact, but it's cool to see all these different papers and stuff as well. Candavica Livia, or Livia Candavica, probably. So here's some more. These look like watercolor, some kind of gouache drawings here. There's a little story. Momo Gordon. This is a black and white one. So you can see not all the artists are using all 9 colors. I don't think any of the stories, by the way, in here totally like. There was nothing in here I didn't like, but I also don't think that there was like the most amazing story. This is definitely a visual book. Nina Cosco, you know, poetics of form type of stuff like this. And again, this looks like it was probably a scan or a photograph of something else. This one doesn't hold up so well. The way that the colors work through this, you can see all the little dots. So this doesn't look like it was made for risograph. To me, this looks like it was made on another piece of paper and scanned, because you get these folds and stuff like that, and then converted for the risograph process. So I don't think that works so well. I think the risograph works best when you're working for it, as most things do. Ramon Kimmig, I don't know, things are upside down. Here's someone who's really, this is someone who knows how to prepare and is preparing directly for a risograph. They're using those textures to their advantage. The randomness of the printing. Should probably scan that, huh? Also, on these title pages, you can see the colors pulled out on their own, so you can see what the primary colors that they're working with are, and you can see the intensity of the purity of the colors. So that's really cool. I just feel like this whole book is like a kind of instructional lesson in what risograph could be and could look like. I think that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to push this technology. Sofia Prieto, I really, really like the look of this one. I'm not going to flip through all of the pages because I think you should go get the book, and I don't want to give it all away for free, but I really love this one. I think this could be printed easily, like with all the black and red, like super clean and crisp too, but I like the fact that it looks like a hand-pulled print and that it's got some variation in it. That's really lovely, especially against all that harsh technological looking stuff. Meg Francie. So just some illustrations. And again, the purity of the color. Like, you couldn't get that color that pure in a 4-color CMYK, because you'd have 3 colors coming together to make it. Here, it just is that orange on the paper flat. And that's the benefit of the risograph, or, you know, printing with a spot color. But the risograph makes it easier and cheaper because it's more like a copy machine. You don't have to, like, reset the whole press and, like, re-ink it and all that kind of stuff. Joe Minor. These ones are really lovely. Again, these are made for risograph, like I can tell, because it's using the risograph texture to create the gradients. I've seen people try and digitally recreate some of these textures, thinking about How to Pick a Fight in the North, which came out from Nobrow, the artist in there. Obviously, they've been looking at a lot of risograph, but it was obviously a offset litho job that had all of these textures, like toothbrush looking textures that come from Riso, had been accomplished with digital means, and it looked a little more fakey. Moa Romanova had some of those like airbrush textures in her work as well. The Goblin Girl book. So I've seen people try and mimic it, and I don't think those digital means mimic it as well. Again, I don't know how it's done here, but this looks like someone that's working for risograph to me. And here's Jordan Jackson, the last artist. And again, some just beautiful little illustrations. And really, again, taking advantage of the purity of the color, because it's pure yellow, pure orange, and pure blue. And then these ones come with poems off to the side. So this is just a treat for the eye. Like, you just don't get to see colors, and you don't get to see color interactions like this in most comic books. It's got to be in these kind of art books that are really focused on the quality of the print. And as someone who's, you know, like I've been saying throughout this video, getting more and more into printmaking as an art form, this is just a really inspiring book. I'm so sad that I can't go get the other ones. Cold Cube Press, I've got a bunch of their other books that I'll be looking at, and I just think what they're doing is pretty magical. So please support them. They're doing really, really great work. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel and you want to support us, the best ways to do it are through Patreon. We have a couple different tiers there that have different like polls that you can vote in, and some prizes you can win on some of the tiers. I'm going to start releasing some exclusive story content on there as well pretty soon. That we'll have a video for that when it's ready to go. And that the money from that helps us buy the books that we review, so that's much appreciated. And then the most important thing is to support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the books that he has coming out that you can buy now. Centralia is an awesome, gorgeous comic by rising Dutch star Neil Vanderpeet. This is his first work. It's a really great sci-fi story. There's a world in the future where the sun has gotten so hot that people can't be on the ground, so they have to run around. There's a lot of conceits that go with that. You know, what is the world that looks like? And I think you can see by the art that Sean's description of this book as like a Moebius for young adults, a YA Moebius, is a really great description of this really gorgeous and like wild, wacky, fun book. House on Fire by Matt Battaglia is a just gorgeous book where Matt's kind of making an emotional response to the years of COVID and wrapping that into a sci-fi dystopian future that really the sci-fi dystopian's backgrounded and you're focused on the emotional journey of two characters in a really beautiful way. And then that's enhanced by Matt's like really awesome, loose, kind of Paul Popish dry brush work. And then Sean and Matt have worked to get this second kind of orange spot color in there that's going to look really, really beautiful and has allowed Matt to use his dry brush technique to add tone to the thing too. So with Sean's production technique, this is going to be a gorgeous book with a lot of heart. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.